Hey everybody, we are back this week. It is 6 o'clock Saturday evening, and I have a really exciting show for you tonight. So Cody is going to be coming on a little bit to discuss Ahmaud Arbery, and then we are also going to be talking with Jessica Harrington, who is running for House Seat against the guy who basically wrote the poll tax. And so she's going to be on around 6:30. Very excited to have her. But first, we have a couple big announcements. So number one, we weren't here for a little while, and now we are back. Last week we gave everybody the week off because of finals, and right now we have 30 interns and volunteers that have jumped on our staff and are working every single week to make sure that we can create the content that we're making and also run the race that we are running. So that is huge. We also just picked up a few endorsements this week. So our outreach team, headed up by Victoria, she has been killing it. They all have. So basically what we decided to do was go through the list of everyone, organizations, people, and start reaching out and making sure that, we can start growing our coalition and start growing our get out the vote, basically everything we can possibly do. Earlier this week, we got endorsed by Justice in Food, which is a food sustainability organization focused on, making sure that we can get rid of food deserts. And so we got their endorsement, which was awesome. And then we got endorsed by a group out in the Midwest called Progressives Rising, which is huge as well. And so we got endorsed by them. They're basically an organization that really tries to help, candidates who are running in red states, but also, with policies like Medicare for All, with policies, like no predatory loans, things like that. And so we're super excited to have that endorsement. And then the other day, about 2 days ago, we got word that we were finalized and we would be receiving the endorsement of a group called No Dem Left Behind. Basically, what this means is that we now have a fundraising organization that has decided to get behind us. We are one of only 10 people that they have endorsed. They are going to be coming out in the next day or two with their full press brief, press announcement. And so that is huge. So that puts us on a level playing field with all of the Republicans. We are putting together, our phone banking system, our fundraising system, and we're going to be hitting this hard starting this next week. And so we're not just looking at the primary, obviously. We are headed towards the general. We right now are looking at the candidates who are going to win on the Republican side. Right now, it looks like Judson Sapp is going to be the winner, or at least he's leading the field right now. He's raised the most money, and he also has the most, endorsements, and it looks like support. He just got endorsed by Dana Lausch. We all know who that is, and Roger Stone, who is a convicted felon who is infamous for getting Nixon elected. He's also infamous for threatening federal judges, witness tampering, and Judson Sapp paid for him to come down and give his campaign advice and be an advisor and help him out. And those are the kind of people right now that are going to be leading this district if we are not careful. And so we are very excited about the support that we're building, the amount of people that we have. I am still the oldest one on this campaign by a long shot. I am the old man at 26. I am the old man. Everyone else at this point is much younger than me, but we have 30 of us now focused on creating digital content, social media content, and also phone banking and everything else we have to do in order to increase the amount of people that are going to be voting in this upcoming election. And so we are so excited that people are starting to jump on board and that we're starting to pick up these endorsements. We're going to have a few more endorsements that we know of that are going to be coming very shortly. But we're really trying to wrap up this primary as quickly as possible and really focus on what matters, which is flipping this district. And so if you want to help, if you want to phone bank, if you want to do anything that can, help us achieve this, let us know. If you can give money, if it's 5, 10, it doesn't matter what, go to forthemany.notjustme.com. We have the donation pages up there. Or you can go to No Down Left Behind. We receive, portions of every contribution that is given to them. They are basically trying to achieve and make sure that candidates that are running in red states that are around +8, +9, or higher have a shot. And right now, we think that we're lowering that significantly. So they're very excited about what we've been able to achieve. We are coming right up after this with Cody. We're going to be discussing this week's news, and then Jessica will be coming up around 6:30. Stick with us. It's going to be a good one.
The Democratic Party has always been there when the country needed us most. Ever since the Great Depression, we have helped bring this nation out of our darkest times. We've known that organizing our party is a great way to create lasting and unifying change. Today, we need that same fighting spirit to stand up to this administration. We need a party movement that shows the country we aren't afraid to back down. That movement is called No Democrat Left Behind. No Dem Left Behind is a nationwide coalition of Democratic congressional candidates in predominantly red districts who have come together to fight for a more united states. We have gathered these candidates and know that they stand for protecting the middle class, expanding mental health services, fighting the opioid crisis, rebuilding our national infrastructure, protecting future generations from climate change, and securing access to health care. Let's work together to make sure the blue wave is even bigger than before. Our candidates, our issues, and our unity is what's going to help make this country even stronger. To learn more, go to NoDemLeftBehind.com.
And we are back. I've got Cody again with me, and it's been it's been an exciting week, hasn't it, Cody?
Yeah, it's definitely been an exciting week. It feels like it's been a while since you and I talked on this. Since the last time we had a live stream, my power went out for a day and a half, so I didn't even get to be on here with everyone watching. And you. So
no, exactly. So 2 weeks ago we took a break because it was finals, and basically everybody was extremely busy, and so we wanted to give them enough time to be able to refresh, focus on that, get through it, and end the school year. Big announcement: we are at 30 people now that have joined in our volunteering / interning or on staff. So that obviously makes us the largest campaign here in North Central Florida, which is huge. We just talked about it, but we just got some really big endorsements, and that is huge. And so that's really going to start propelling us. And then we are also still in the process of talking to multiple other organizations, and we should have some more news for you on that front coming forward. We are also going to transitioning really towards fundraising and outreach starting now. The website and everything, our online presence, live streams, social media, pretty much all that we have been able to do with that is finalized. And so now it is time to start really focusing on turning out the vote. And today I'm really excited. We've got Jessica Harrington that's going to be coming up later. She is actually taking on a state Republican who's pretty infamous. I think he's one of the longest running, longest serving, politicians here in Florida. And so we're going to have some fun talking to her about that. And I believe he's the guy who wrote the poll tax. Basically, Cody's written quite a bit on that already, and we've talked about it a lot on the live stream, and then also, online. And so, after last week, after the live stream, with Cody, his power going out, a lot of things happened. A lot of them, very heavy. And so we're going to kind of jump into that a little bit. But Cody just wrote a piece the other day on Ahmaud Arbery. And so I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about that. And if you want to pull it up, it's on our website at forthemanynotjustme.com. It's also on our Facebook page and our Twitter. So you should be able to find it if you don't know what I'm talking about, or you don't know what's going on right now. So, Cody, if you want to fill us in, give us kind of the backstory, what's been going on,
Yeah, no. Well, backing up a little bit, it's crazy and it's awesome that we're at 30 people. We started this. You announced what, end of January?
Yeah, pretty much.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I jumped on, and then a lot of the rest of the campaign core jumped on. Something happened to my.
Yeah, I see it. I'm fixing it. Just keep going.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, no, great. A lot of the staff jumped on, and then interns and everything, and it's been really, really cool to see grow and watch, and it's been awesome. Moving on. I wrote a piece yesterday about Ahmaud Arbery. For those who do not know the story, I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown. Ahmaud Ahmaud Arbery was jogging in a neighborhood for exercise, and two men believed that he was a suspect in thefts and break-ins in the neighborhood, and basically chased after him and shot and killed him. He did not have a gun.
It's a little bit more brutal than that. I mean, so video came out right after. Video came out right after from somebody who was taking video of it. And this is, again, 2 months ago, and we just saw the video. So tell them about that.
Yes, so it was February 23rd whenever this happened, and we did not hear anything about it until just a few days ago. The video surfaced, and these people, Travis and Gregory McMichael, were just walking the streets until yesterday. And it's really sad that it took that long. And there's a big backstory that we're going to get into about why it took that long and everything. But it's really sad because Ahmaud Arbery was jogging and not thinking much, and then got shot 3 times and brutally murdered. It's definitely sad, and all that we can do now is move on and progress with this. And how we do that, I laid that out in my article. More certain gun policies and a systemic change to how we address race in this country is especially what is needed to go forward. This is sadly happening so often. Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, these kind of people. We see this so often, and there is no reason for it.
So I'm gonna read a little bit from your piece, just for everyone, just right at the start. But first of all, we don't recommend watching the video. The first time that I watched it, I mean, I saw it and I had to sit down. It was bad.
Yeah. Same.
It's not the first time video like this has come out. It's not the first time these kind of things have happened. And it's not the first time that no one was charged, no one was caught, no one was really any punishment whatsoever. So I'm just going to read a little bit from your piece, Cody. A video from February 2020 it surfaced on the internet a few days ago, showing the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, an unarmed black man jogging in his neighborhood by 2 white men, Gregory and Travis McMichael. The shooting took place in southern Georgia while Mr. Arbery was on his daily jog, according to his mother. It's haunting, not just because he was gunned down, but because he was hunted. And as he was jogging, Mr. Arbery was tracked down by 2 men in a pickup truck and shot. It's also absurd that neither Gregory or Travis McMichael were arrested on the scene, and it took until yesterday, almost 2 months later, for anyone to be arrested. These men were walking free in Georgia every day, while Mr. Arbery's blood still stained the streets. As you said, it's not the first time that we've seen this. We saw it with Trayvon Martin in 2012. We saw it with Michael Brown in 2014, Botham Jean in 2018, Philando Castile. Basically, the names and the list, they just go on and on and on. And the one thing that always happens every single time that one of these happens is that immediately we hear about a story from 10 or 20 or 15 years ago, or when the person was in high school, or when they were in middle school, about something that they had done. Immediately, something that has no relevance to the actual event gets brought up as almost like a justification, or almost like basically explaining it away or waving away the fact that, in this case, he was executed in the streets.
Right. So to kind of go off of that, basically his attorney came out and said that they're trying to assassinate his character and bring up things like he was caught shoplifting in high school and brought a gun to a basketball game, not to do anything with the gun, but just had a gun on him at a basketball game. The thing that people need to understand is that these do not correlate to what happened. Just because he might have shoplifted one time, or just because he had a gun as a human being, not that he had one on him then, because he did not. These two things are different, and these things don't correlate with the murder, and does not give anyone the right to murder someone. It's sad that they have to go, oh, well, he did this in 2013, or he shoplifted in high school. And then you sit there and go, I know a lot of people that have done that and have done stupid things and all of that, but they don't deserve to be shot on the street. They're not thugs. They're not these awful human beings.
And I want to go back away from this, because I've been, especially on Facebook, I've been watching a lot of things, and a lot of people that I know try to almost grapple with what has happened. But the problem is, a lot of them don't realize the way that they are framing this. I saw one, and basically the person said, this is awful. And I really do hope he was truly just jogging, and that's why they came after him. Because apparently neighbors had reported that somebody had trespassed on a construction property, and that's what they were trying to find. And my exact response was, I didn't realize that in Georgia, the punishment for trespassing was execution. I didn't realize that. Because it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't even matter if you did steal something. No one gets to decide that they are going to execute you in the street, hunt you down from the back of a pickup like it's an African safari, and shoot you like an animal. Nobody has that right. If you actually believe in law and order, and you actually believe in the police, and actually believe in a lot of things that are conservative values, then you're going to call the police and have them question. And you're going to go through the law and the process. The problem is, a lot of times, and we'll even go through this, a lot of times people see someone jogging or out of place, or they don't think they should be in that place. And what do? They do call the police. Mm-hmm. And these things still happen. The problem is, right now, there is this, at this point, as far as I can tell, it doesn't matter who you are. If you are a black man who is doing any sort of function or any activity, you're in danger, period. And right now, a lot of people say, especially for a lot of black men that get shot and killed by the police, that, oh, he had a gun. And my response is, in the last week, what did we see? We saw militias storm the capitals in California, Michigan, and Kentucky, armed with assault rifles, screaming in police face, shoving police, and nothing was done. They were not arrested. Right. They were not considered a threat. They were not shot and executed from the back of a pickup truck. So I really have to wonder, why is it that as soon as we see the death of someone, we automatically assume the worst about their character at all? Because their character does not matter. It does not matter who it is or what they have done. No one has the right to pick up a weapon and hunt someone down and execute them. That is not your right.
The thing is, we see this happen with these kind of killings where immediately in the aftermath they start questioning their character. But it's not just that. It's
an assumption of guilt. It's an assumption.
Black man.
I mean, if somebody is saying online, I truly do hope that he was just jogging, there's already an assumption. You are nudging somebody to think, well, maybe he deserved it, or maybe there's more to the story, as opposed to saying he was just executed in the street. It doesn't matter what the rest of the story is. It doesn't matter if he shoplifted once. It doesn't matter what happened in years ago. It does not matter who a person is. They should not be executed in the street, period.
The problem that we're seeing, though, is that this doesn't happen when there is a white person shot and killed. They don't normally attack the character of that person that we see during these kind of times. What you just said about the Michigan protesters, it's, I wrote this in my own personal Facebook post, and I said that I didn't put this in the article, but one has to think how things would be different if the people that are protesting in Michigan right now were black. If a group of black people came armed to the neck with assault-style weapons, storming the Capitol, it would be a night and day difference to what we're seeing right now.
Well, we know it happens.
They don't even have to have...
Cody, we know it happens.
Yeah.
It happened in the 90s. It happened with Ronald Reagan in California. California, as soon as the Black Panthers stormed the Capitol in California, armed with assault rifles, they put in some of the strongest gun control measures in the history of the United States immediately. That was Ronald Reagan. And so we know exactly what this looks like. There's only one difference that I can see. And we don't have to blatantly say it because we all know what it is.
Right. Yeah. And that is what we as a society need to address and look at ourselves. And the problem is that is never going to happen when we immediately try to attack the character of the person who was shot and killed. That is not going to happen when we immediately take the side of the people that are doing the shooting. When we immediately say, oh, it was probably justified. That change is never going to happen until we stand up and say, no, this was wrong. And the people that shot him need to be in jail. Whether it was quote unquote justified or not.
There is no justified. In my mind, I don't think it can ever be justified. I don't.
No, I don't believe so either. But I'm playing devil's advocate a bit for the people that are going, well, I hope it's might have been justified or whatever. Even if it was, they shot and killed someone in cold blood. He should be in jail. Or those two should be in jail right now. And thankfully, they are now, finally, because the video surfaced. If that video did not surface, they would not be in jail. They would still be walking around the streets, and no one would know what was going on except for the family and a few people probably in southern Georgia.
And the reason for that, which we just found out, is that the police wanted to arrest these two men, and the local DA refused to allow them to be prosecuted, to be charged, refused. And the reason was that one of the men had previously worked for him, and they knew each other. And so basically what we have is basically the justice system itself protecting this kind of action as well. And like you said, the only reason that anything has happened is because it's so blatantly obvious. At this point, unless there's a video of something happening, nobody apparently believes it. And even if there is video, they're still trying to find a way to justify it. And so for me, at this point, murder is murder. Stand your ground laws, those are murder. I don't care at this point because we are seeing this far too often. We're seeing this kind of violence in schools. We are seeing this kind of violence in our daily lives. We are seeing it on our streets. We are seeing it when people go jogging. And at this point, I don't know what else there is to say other than the prevalence of these things and the lethality that we are allowing to be on the streets with people who should never have these weapons in the first place. It has to be addressed, period. And no other country is suffering from this. Other countries have racism. They're not suffering from people being hunted down in the middle of the day.
Well, it's like I put that in my article that I'll be biased for a second and self-promote. People should go read, please.
It's pretty good.
But it's you're 25 times more likely to be shot and killed in America than you are any other nation. And even the staunchest Second Amendment advocates and people like that who are very pro-gun have to ask themselves, why are we the only ones really struggling with this in the entire world?
Yeah. I'm going to read one last piece of your article, and then we're going to move on. And so that basically, I'm just going to read this. This all could have been prevented. Imagine if your brother, your spouse, or family member simply went on a jog in the middle of the day and was gunned down by two people who months later were still walking the street. Imagine how furious you would be. Imagine if the whole situation could have been prevented. Imagine the pain of your family. And now imagine if nobody had done anything about it. And that really right now is where we are, where we've been, and where we've been as a society for years. And I am tired of going on social media. I am tired of turning on the news and seeing these things happen and know that we can prevent them. And so we're going to leave it right there. We're going to go to the next part. But that's kind of some of our thoughts. And I know that Jessica has been sharing some of her thoughts online as well. But, we just need to make it very clear that, we are privileged to be who we are.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
As a lot of like this could have been me down in Polk County. It could have been. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you've talked to me about it, it could have been. And if I was black, I know I would not be here right now. Period.
Right.
And I got lucky. Period. But I know a lot of people haven't, and I know a lot of people don't every single day. And this is just another example of it. And so whatever we can do, whatever we can say, whatever we can do to try to change this, we have to. We have a moral obligation. We don't have any other choice.
We are incredibly privileged, and I think we are hurting society if we do not, or if we are ignorant to that fact.
Yeah.
We have privilege. I don't have to worry about jogging in my neighborhood. I don't have to worry about anything.
Walking to school, walking to the school bus.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about gun violence walking to the school bus. Going to the public pool.
That is called privilege.
Okay.
And the fact that we keep ignoring that is what is hindering our progress in society.
Yeah. One last thing. I actually was a camp counselor in Tennessee, Kentucky for a few years. And some of the kids that I worked with, they came from Memphis. They came from Louisville. They came from a few other places. And some of them, their brothers were no longer with us anymore. I mean, these kids were 6, 7, 8 years old and had grown up from a young age going to bed and expecting to hear gunshots every night. And a lot of them had lost family members, cousins, brothers. And to see just what that looks like to a person and how it affects you the rest of your life, even from a young age, it breaks your heart. And then we know that people are going through this every single day. And so for me, watching the video, I don't recommend it. But if you do watch it, keep in mind that the person who's videotaping it is also under investigation right now. Why? Because that person saw what was happening and taped it and knew what was going to happen and may have even been an accomplice to it. And so right now, we have to do everything we possibly can to stop these things from happening. And so, we've talked a lot about it as far as policy, and there's a lot of things that a lot of other countries have done, including New Zealand, that, have really stopped these kind of things from happening, or at least mitigated them a lot. And so we need to have a serious conversation about this as a country, as a society, as a city, everything. And so that's kind of where we're at. Let's jump to the next topic that we're going to talk about quickly. So Cody, you want to jump on?
Yeah. So also fun news this week. Unemployment rose to 14.7% by April.
News.
That might not actually be accurate.
Yeah.
That is typically a guess. unemployment rates are typically guesses, but a lot of people believe that it's a much higher, maybe around 23%. And a lot of people, if you don't know, the Great Depression hit 25%. So we're very, very close to those numbers.
And the Great Depression took 3 years.
Yeah. So this is something that we're going to be feeling for a long time. But the jobless claim is over 20%. And a jobless claim is a little bit more statistic driven. So it's a little bit more of a true number. People know what the jobless claim is compared to the unemployment claim, which is more of a guess, like I just said. So this is not good. We are really starting to see Great Depression numbers. We kind of knew that it was going to be that way, but this is now becoming more and more of a reality, and it doesn't look like it's going to be any better anytime soon. This is definitely not good, and the more
we are only really just starting to feel the effects of it. And a lot of countries, obviously, they have decided to, for the duration of this, basically write everyone a check for $2,000 a month and freeze mortgages and rent payments until this is over, just to help people get by. Here in the United States, I think, we have done what the United States is very good at. It's what we did in Vietnam. We fought until it got too expensive, and then we just decided we didn't want to do it anymore, and so we quit. And that is essentially what we have done when trying to combat this virus and this pandemic. Is we took preventative measures, they were working, and then it took too long, and it got too expensive. And let's keep in mind, it only took 3 weeks. It got too expensive, and then we just stopped doing it. And so right now, a lot of people that I see on the street are acting as if this whole thing is over, when in reality, it's still just getting started, because we never actually flattened the curve. We rounded it.
Right.
It's not going down. And now the only place that has been able to flatten it and start to take it down is New York. All across the country, everywhere else has not. And so we are still growing at about 17% of new cases, like 17% of where we are, new cases per day. And so that's...
Yeah. We are still at about 2,000 deaths per day. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that people aren't really talking about. Now all they're talking about is, oh, we're going to start opening everything back up, and even though that is going to do nothing but continue to uptick that curve.
It's going to take longer.
We are not going to flatten it. We are not going to lower the curve. We're not going to do anything. It's going to grow because we're going to try to open things back up. There was a study done, I don't remember who it was, but said everyone from about 2 people of 1,000 have the coronavirus. That's just like one weekend survey. And
it's now the leading cause of death in the United States.
Yeah.
Over everything else. So the people who were claiming that, oh, it's just like the flu, or, oh, it's not even that bad, when we were at the beginning of of exponential growth and didn't really start to understand what exponential growth actually means, it's very clear now who was taking it seriously and who had any idea what they were talking about and who didn't. So let's jump a little bit forward. Obviously, we are just getting started with this whole thing. It could last years. And I've seen some, especially since we are not now taking the proper steps to be able to handle it. So we are looking at mass unemployment, scale of the Great Depression. At the same time, people are celebrating right now if bars are half full. And most people are not going outside because, well, they're not as dumb as the people who are making the laws at this point. And so right now we have the class of 2020 who is graduating into what is going to be one of the worst recessions, if not depression, that we've experienced in 50, 60, 70 years. As we know, all of the previous classes that have graduated into a recession in 1976 and also 2015, they had extremely depressed earnings for about 10 years. And so that is some research that came out by Northwestern University. But basically right now, what it looks like is if we don't take care of the actual issue, which is, the pandemic, we are not going to have a normal. We're going to have a new normal where unemployment is ridiculously high. People can barely survive. And people are still getting squeezed for their mortgage and rent payments, despite the fact that they no longer have an income or a stream of income or an ability to pay. And so that is really where we're at right now. And so what I recommend is calling your senator and your congressperson, especially Scott at this point, and Rubio. Why? Because they have decided that it is getting too expensive to give people money. It wasn't too expensive to give giant companies who didn't need it money, but it's too expensive to make sure that you all are able to make your mortgage payment or your rent payment or be able to afford groceries. And so they are essentially saying at this point that they're concerned about how much we're spending. More concerned when they were giving free money to billionaires and hedge funds, but now they're concerned because that money might just go to somebody who needs to get $20 worth of groceries, and they don't want them to get $25 worth of groceries. Because apparently in a pandemic, the worst thing you can possibly do is give a poor person a little bit extra compared to what they should get.
Right. And the problem is the pandemics typically end, and whenever problems happen with the economy and all that, people typically become more polarized politically. And the question is, when we get out of all of this, and even now when we go vote in November, in the primaries in August, and all of that, it's how do we want to shape politics for the years to come? Do we want what's happening right now, or do we want something new, like our campaign trying to progress us forward instead of giving money to corporations and not bailing out human beings, but instead bailing out large corporations who are still letting go of their employees.
My favorite thing that I saw on this, I think it was yesterday, Cody, was under one of our posts, a guy basically wrote and said that his daughter worked at Subway for $7.25 an hour, and that he didn't think that she deserved anything more than that. And I can't remember exactly what you said, but his response was the reason she didn't deserve anything more than that was she was unskilled, and at the same time that if she did receive more, then they'd have to increase the price of the sandwich, and that it would be too expensive for them to be able to do it, and they wouldn't make any money, and therefore the Subway would shut down, and then all businesses would shut down. And what was your response, Cody?
Reply.
Yeah, what was your reply?
Subway made a profit of $10 billion last year. Over $10 billion.
So you're saying that paying their workers enough to be able to make their rent is feasible? It's just not the greediest way that they could approach it, and therefore it's not the one they're going to choose?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. Last thing, and this is probably one of the most important things that we have talked about ever, I think. And I really think that, this is the part that you really need to pay attention. Darth Vader is no longer the Star Wars most popular character or person. It has been replaced, and by the most wonderful thing ever, and everyone I'm sure knows what that is by now. Who is it, Cody?
Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Or the child.
Baby Yoda has replaced Darth Vader. I'm fine with it. For those who don't know
about this live stream, so I spend most of my morning before we do this writing out the outlines and stuff for what we're going to talk about, and I had to add this. I actually tweeted about this, saying that actually I am not happy about this because though I love Baby Yoda, the people that say, because basically Darth Vader went to number 3 on the list, and Baby Yoda and The Mandalorian are 1 and 2 now.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it. I believe the people that picked Baby Yoda and The Mandalorian as 1 and 2 are bandwagoners who were not giant Star Wars fans to begin with.
And I disagree because, as we know, you like the last 3 Star Wars that just came out, and in my opinion, they are absolutely terrible. And the reasoning I would give is, can you name a single quotable portion or even quote that came out of the last 3 Star Wars? Because I can't. I mean, in the original, it was what? Luke, I am your father.
And I have a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this. Even in the original,
actually,
even in the prequels, there were some quotable lines. I can't think of a single one in the newest 3 Star Wars, but I can think of several in The Mandalorian.
I can think of one, but that's because I literally just watched all 3 of them in the past week. So,
what is it? Give me one. Give me one.
Kylo Ren every single time in every single movie says something along the lines of, "I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it." He said that in every single movie.
And that's quotable to you?
It's quotable, but it's something that I remember.
Rogue One had more quotable bits. Rogue One! I in the Force are one. There you go. Or in The Mandalorian, it's what? This is the way? Or I have spoken? Come on, Cody. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's move on. Jessica's coming up right now. It's good to talk to you, man.
Yep, you too, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
My name is Jessica Harrington. I'm a school teacher and running for state representative in District 64 against one of the most dangerous legislators in the state of Florida. When a bad piece of legislation comes out of Tallahassee, it's almost a guarantee that my opponent wrote the bill. After Amendment 4, he created a poll tax to continue voter suppression here in Florida. He wrote a union-busting bill to hurt teachers, and he refuses to hear any meaningful criminal justice reform bills. And just this session, he wrote a bill to make it harder for Floridians to get amendments onto the ballot. It's time for new, bold, progressive leadership in Tallahassee. Let's kick out the good old boys club and put someone in who is going to protect our environment, fund our public schools, and bring local control back to our communities. And with coronavirus, we see now more than ever that Floridians deserve health care as a right, not as a perk of employment. We have just a few days left before the fundraising deadline. Can you chip in $5 or $10 to help us meet our goal? With your help, we can send a teacher to Tallahassee.
All right, I've got Jessica here. I'm going to move her a little bit so she's in the center of the screen. But I think other than that, we are pretty much good to go. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I was told, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was like, hey, you got to talk to her. She's great. And I was like, okay, tell me who she is.
Was it the 90 for 90 people?
I think it was, yeah. I think it was them.
Yeah, they're wonderful. They're wonderful.
They are absolutely wonderful. All right. Who are you? What are you doing? What do you do? Why should we like you? I mean, I already like you. I don't know why that is, but why should everyone else?
Okay, so my name is Jessica Harrington. I am a school teacher here in Tampa. I actually, before I moved back to Tampa, I lived in Gainesville for 10 years. So it's kind of pretty cool being able to talk to someone that's running for office in Gainesville. So yeah, I have been teaching for about 12 years now in public schools. I'm a product of the public school system. And, just like everyone else, after 2016, I decided, I need to get off the sidelines. I'd always been a voter. I've worked on campaigns, but it was at the point where I didn't see enough people running for office that were fighting for the values that I really, really cared about and that I think people care about. So I decided to throw my name onto the ballot in 2018.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, shoot. Yeah, I mean, you can basically take exactly what you said and flip it over for me and us at this point. I mean, it's, we saw what was going on and said, we don't have any other choice. We have to. Tell me, how is teaching right now? How wonderful is it?
It's a struggle, but it's definitely, I mean, there's pros and cons for sure. I like the fact that, I can sleep in a little bit more. Don't tell my boss that.
Don't tell the kids that either.
The kids are sleeping in. They don't log in until like 2 p.m. It's awful. And they're sometimes they're on like at 2 a.m. doing work after they've played video games all day. But it's a learning process.
Sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah, we have kids that, that didn't have laptops, that didn't have access to internet. So it really showed everyone that there was a lot of inequity and inequality in education in our school systems, with people not having access to basic things that we think are basic, computers and internet. And so it was a struggle trying to make sure we got the students that, but now it's kind of, it's settled. So we are, we're doing the online learning, and we're rocking and rolling. We have about 3 weeks left of school, and we're going to try to push through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fantastic. I saw that you are also a member of Moms Demand. And so you want to tell us a little bit about that, kind of how you got into it, what really pushed you off the sidelines. We talked a little bit earlier, me and Cody, about, Ahmaud and just what happened with him. But I mean, obviously, gun violence is a huge issue in our country and really in everyday life. And so you just kind of want to talk a little bit about what inspired you, to jump off the sidelines for that.
So when I was just starting out teaching, I think I was 2 years into teaching. I was living in Gainesville, and that was when the murder of Trayvon Martin happened. And it was just so shocking. And, Trayvon looked like some of the kids I taught. And I just, from that day, I had to get involved. So, I ended up moving back to Tampa around that same time. I went to a protest rally in front of the courthouse in downtown Tampa. And later that movement, that rally ended up, that was a local version of Black Lives Matter. And then it became a national movement. So first, I was involved with, just showing up as an ally in the Black Lives Matter movement. And then later joining Moms Demand Action after the Parkland shooting happened. Just being a teacher, and this is, these are happening at our schools. Our children are being gunned down. I had to do something. And so joining Moms Demand seemed like a perfect fit because it is nonpartisan. And the number one goal of Moms Demand Action is gun safety and ending gun violence. We're not here to take your guns away. We're not trying to repeal the Second Amendment. We are gun owners. We are Second Amendment supporters. We care about your rights, but we want to make sure that we can end gun violence together. And we have to do that with gun owners and with non-gun owners working together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one really powerful thing is, it's Democrats, it's Republicans that have basically said, we're sick of people who don't know what they're doing with guns, who are not safe with them, being near children, being with our children, and people getting killed because of it. I think it's on average, 12 kids under the age of 6 die a week or something just because somebody didn't lock up a firearm correctly and they got their hands on it. I mean, if that number was 12 a year, that would be tragic. This makes no sense to me. And so for me, especially, when I see numbers like that, when I see things like that happen, I viscerally don't understand. I can't understand how nothing has been done about it. But then again, I look at what we're seeing now, with the pandemic, and I start to understand because we have our state opening back up. We have people going into harm's way. And it's almost like we've gotten to the point where we think, this is probably the most American way to think is, we've tried stuff for like 3 weeks and it didn't work as well as we wanted it to. It got too expensive. So therefore we're done. We just quit.
Yeah, it's something we definitely need to address as a country. We need to really come together. I mean, I think I read a story today about a postal worker that was shot and killed because someone's unemployment check wasn't in the mail. And so they shot the postal worker. Like what? I don't want to live in a country like that.
I think there was a lady who walked into a McDonald's and shot 3 people because they wouldn't let her come in there without a mask and eat in the dining room. And it was just like, that's why, I mean, even, I went to Outback the other day just to, get takeout. And And I was sitting there in the parking lot, and the owner of the store was yelling at somebody at their car who was like a DoorDash driver because that person had been berating their staff. And I'm sitting there going, we're all like, this is not a good thing. Like, we're not in a great situation. Yeah, tensions are high, but there is no reason for people to take it into their own hands and on somebody who it's not their fault. Like, for me, seeing that, and then also, people that are not safe with firearms to begin with, if tensions are high and you are already somebody who's not safe with a firearm, I mean, that's why we have red flag laws, isn't it? I mean, you would know more about that than I would with the position that you're in. But what are you thinking right now, with the laws that are trying to get passed to arm teachers, with everything that's going on right now? What are some of your thoughts?
Sorry, you just kind of cut out there for a second.
Oh, okay. No problem.
We're good. I think we're good now.
Okay.
Stop.
Yeah. Basically, I was just going to ask what your thoughts are on the proposals to, arm teachers and do things like that. For some reason, our lives.
Yeah, I mean, we know that that's not the way to go. We don't need to be putting more guns into our schools. We need to be making our schools safer. We need to be addressing the mental health issue, and we need to make it so that it's not so easy for people to get guns.
Hang on one second. It looks like the live stream just cut out for some reason. I don't know if it's my internet.
Oh, did it?
I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna check it.
Okay.
I'm going to check it and then see what's going on. And if I have to reset it, then I'm going to reset it. So,
okay.
All right. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna just okay. I think we are live. I think we are back now.
Okay.
It appears. Yeah. Sorry. I think it's an internet connection issue. I'm not really certain. But anyway, so
okay. Facebook's been having lots of problems. So.
It appears to be, yeah.
But yeah,
it makes no sense to me. But so let's kind of tell me a little bit about the person that you are running against. Let's start there. Tell me who you're running against. Tell me what made you jump in. I believe you ran in 2018.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I am running against the longest serving state house legislator in the entire state of Florida. And you might be wondering, well, how can that possibly be? And it's because my opponent, Jamie Grant, he found a loophole in the Florida Constitution that's going to allow him to be a state representative for 16 years instead of the term limit of 8 years. So he's been in there since 2010. He can be there until 2023 if he chooses, but not if I have anything to do with it. So back in 2018, I was looking for, a way to be involved, and I decided to check out my local, who is my local representative? I didn't even know. So I looked up who it was. It was Jamie Grant, and he hadn't had a Democratic challenger in a decade. And I was like, oh, no. It was 2018 at that point. The Trump election had happened. And so I decided to, drive 4 hours to Tallahassee during the week of the filing deadline and put my name on the ballot. I came home, had no idea what I was doing, had no campaign team. We had no money. We were literally a ragtag, campaign. And on election night, we came within 7 points. I mean, we got 36,000 votes to his 41,000, and we only lost by 5,000 votes. And to me, without knocking any doors, having no campaign and no money, how did we do that? And it shows you that our district is not as red as people think. So when I saw that happen, I said, I need to do this the right way. I don't need to jump into, a campaign so late. So let's try doing it early. Yeah. So in April 2019, I put my name back up to run for office, and we have been hitting the ground running ever since. We've raised close to $50,000. We just took on a campaign manager that worked to help Obama flip Florida blue. We have a field organizer, and we have a great group of volunteers from all across the country. A shout out to Common Purpose in Seattle, Washington. That's going to help us flip the seat. So the reason our race is so important and why people are so invested in my race is because of who I'm running against. I mean, they like the fact that I'm a teacher. I was teacher of the year at my school. They like the fact that I'm fighting for everyday Floridians. We want access to health care. We need our funded public schools. We need our environment to be protected. All of those things we care about, that's what we're running on. But we're also running to be that contrast to Jamie Grant. He is the poll tax. He created the Florida poll tax. So after all of us voted for Amendment 4, he's the one that came in and wrote that legislation. And that's Jim Crow 2.0. I mean, it's voter suppression at, just with a different name. He also, I'm a union member. He wrote HB1, which was a union busting bill to make it harder for us to keep our unions together. And the list really goes on and on. He refuses to work on criminal justice reform. He voted. He's one of the reasons why the unemployment system is broken, because he was one of the lawmakers in 2011 that actually voted to gut unemployment. So there's a lot of reasons why this guy is a bad guy and he needs to go. He does not represent the people. He thinks of himself as a part-time legislator, and he's not. You're not a part-time legislator. You might be in Tallahassee part-time making laws, but you represent us full-time. And when you make laws that ruin people's lives, you're ruining their lives full-time. So we are here to be a contrast to that. We are going to take him out in November, but we're going to need everybody's help. We know we can win this race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've done quite a bit. I know Cody has written quite a bit. Cody's our communications director. He was on a little bit ago.
Yeah, he's great.
He really is. Yeah, he and his wife just found out that they are pregnant. I don't think I'm allowed to say what it is, what the gender is yet. I don't think I'm allowed to say. Cody's probably gonna. I'm probably gonna get a text. Congratulations to them. He still calls me the old person. I'm like, you're married with a family. Like, come on. But yeah, he's obviously written some stuff on the poll taxes as well as everything basically you just talked about. But really, I mean, right now, as you know, the guy that you are running against is one of the reasons that so many people are out of work and don't have a way to be able to make their rent or make their mortgage, because he decided that he was going to essentially rewrite and help gut our unemployment office. Rick Scott, after 2008, along with them, on purpose, decided that the way to make it seem like Florida wasn't doing as badly as it was doing is to make it so that it's almost impossible for people to file, because if nobody's able to file, that means we don't have unemployed people, right?
Yeah.
Hey, that's what that means.
And I think, the fact that we have one of the lowest unemployment benefits, and also we have the shortest amount of weeks. So we really do decentivize. We make sure that people don't really want to apply for it because it's not really worth it. It's only $275 a week. You can't get it that long. So all of those put together, it makes for a really fake narrative saying that, look how great Florida, everyone's to work. No, they're not. They're not to work. And if they are, they're usually working 2 or 3 or 4 jobs. I know as a teacher, we are the 48th worst paid teachers in the country.
Yeah.
And, and the only way we can survive and continue to afford being teachers is we have to work 2 or 3 jobs. I know when I was living in Gainesville, that was my first year teaching. Oh my gosh, this is the cutest dog ever.
Yeah. He decided that he was done being on the ground and he needs to now be on my lap.
Yeah. But, I was working as a bartender my first 3 years of teaching.
Yeah.
And it was really sad, and it was tough, always being tired, having to work, never having a day off. And sometimes, my parents from my school, I would teach their kids during the day and I'm serving them drinks at night. Like it was definitely a hot mess. So we need to make sure we're paying our teachers and make sure we're paying everybody else. I mean, our bus drivers, our nurses, We need to make sure everybody across the board in education is getting paid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I mean, the biggest thing right now is, we can afford to do whatever your opponent decides he wants to write up. We can afford that. It doesn't matter what it is. He always finds the money. But when it comes to actually making sure that teachers can survive and everyone else actually has a decent living, that's too hard. I think you saw somebody today. I think you were out, feeding people, and I think that you saw somebody today.
Yes, we
that
did.
You talked to. So tell me a little bit about that.
I did. So I was volunteering this morning with Feeding Tampa Bay, which is one of our local food banks.
Yeah.
So we had this big, giant mobile pantry where literally people were lined up for hours and hours in the morning, and the line went on for miles. Like, it was very sad to see how many people in our community need help. And who walks up but none other than Senator Bill Galvano. And he is as we know, he is the Senate president.
Yeah.
So he walks up and he's thanking everyone, thank you for being here and doing God's work. And, we can't rely on the government. We need, people like you to help. And
what do you mean we can't rely? We can't rely on him? So he's the government, but we can't rely on the government. So isn't he just like cutting himself down? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I have the receipt. I have a video of that too. I have the receipt book on that. So anyway, so after
you have a video of that?
Oh, I have a video.
Oh, that is wonderful. Can you please make that like an ad? Like, write that thing up, send it to whoever's running against him.
Yeah, I'll send it to her. But actually, I can't really, because he actually is termed out. So, but his robot, like, they have someone lined up to run in his place. So I go up to Senator Galvano after everyone kind of disperses, and I kind of interrupt. I'm like, hey, Senator, can I just ask you a quick question before we get started? And he's like, yeah, okay. And I said, Senator, why is it that you voted no on returning for a special session? Every single Republican in the Florida House, and I'm pretty sure in the Senate, voted no for a special session to fix the unemployment system and to address maybe we need to vote by mail for the entire state.
Yeah.
And it was just so ironic to me. Maybe that's not the right word, but it was just so hypocritical that he's here at a food bank helping distribute food when all he has to do is they have to call a special session and they need to go and fix unemployment so that people don't actually have to be in a food line.
So that one makes me mad, because the person with the power to make sure that all these people don't have to go to the food bank and make sure that all these people are not suffering is the one standing there saying, well, you can't rely on the government and you can't actually, fix what's broken, when literally he's the one who could. I'm sorry, but that is no excuse for me. And honestly, if I was there, I would not.
Oh, believe me, if I wasn't a candidate, it would have been I probably would have gotten escorted off the premise. But I'll tell you right now, what really hurts me is that our small businesses are struggling. I mean, there's some small businesses
decimated.
that
I own
may not.
The building behind me in this building. Basically, in the last 2 weeks, 8 of these companies have gone under. 8. And what does that tell you? That tells you that they've gotten no help, because you know what? I haven't seen a McDonald's location go under yet. I haven't seen a Steak and Shake location go under yet. I haven't seen Taco Bell. But all of a sudden, all of our family-owned and small businesses and startups, they don't have anything to fall back on. And as soon as they go away, they're away for good. They're not just going to go find a new owner and prop up the same employees, the same company, the same location. It doesn't happen. There's no backup for them. And what the Florida government has done is essentially say, you're on your own. Like, the city of Gainesville has done, in County of Alachua, has done more for small businesses by creating their own, basically, fund to help people that are struggling with their rent and stuff than the state of Florida has. And tell me which one has more power.
It's really sad, because they, Tallahassee, the legislators there, it's always a tight budget year. They can never find money to do these things. But how all of a sudden they can find $500 million and tax breaks to these large corporations, and that when that money should have gone to our small businesses. And I hope the people that work at these small businesses, that own these small businesses, I hope they remember that on November 4th.
Oh, they're pissed.
That it wasn't
they are pissed because none of this should have happened.
No. And, so myself, along with a couple other candidates that are running in my area, Julie Jenkins is one of them. We decided to start promoting something called Small Business Saturday every Saturday. Yeah. So what we do in our districts is we are trying to highlight some of the small businesses that are open, that are doing curbside pickup or whatever they're doing, to let people know, like, hey, they're open and they need your support. And that's been going really well. The small businesses have really been appreciative of just giving them a little bit of extra airtime, putting on Facebook and letting people know, like, hey, come support us, because again, Tallahassee is not supporting you. They do not support working families. All they care about are corporations that can give them large campaign contributions. And that's why our campaign is one of the only ones in the area that has publicly come out to say that we will not accept a penny of a corporate donation. Yeah. Not a penny.
Yeah, we're same boat. We're not taking any corporate PAC money. I mean, and you have to at this point. I mean, you have to do that. Otherwise, who are you really representing? Because I can tell you exactly who the people we're running against represent. I mean, the leading guy has almost $400,000 in his war chest. Half of it's from his own business that he got in federal contracts because he's down at Mar-a-Lago almost every weekend taking photos with people down there. And then the other people have gotten it from large ag or other places where, they basically show up. They say, we have a chance to win this thing, so give us as much money as possible. And tell all your buddies to give us as much money as possible, because who we're going to write the laws for? When a pandemic hits, who are we going to give the tax breaks to? When something happens, who are we going to think of first? Well, it's definitely not the small businesses. It's definitely not the people here in District 3. It's the people who don't exist.
I mean, it's the politicians, and this is why people don't like politicians. Yeah. It's because they are seen as just representing themselves, their special interests. Yeah. All they care about is staying in power and what their power can do for them. Yeah. My opponent, for example, I believe he's being federally investigated. I don't even know at this point, but he, took a grant. He took like a $70 million grant, using his position of power. So when he was first elected into office as a state legislator, he went down to Little Hardy County, which we know Hardy County is pretty much controlled and owned by big phosphates and Mosaic, pretty much. And he used his status as a state legislator to get a $7 million grant to start a business, like a tech business. And they didn't keep any records. And a couple of years later, the business shuts their doors. All the money is gone. And all the 200 and something people are out of a job. And there are lawsuits, and there are people really investigating this. There was another article that came out that this company that Jamie Grant was part of, they were defrauding Medicare. So I hope that comes out and people realize that he's a fraud.
Well, does that really surprise you when the governor of Florida made, $300 million, almost all his money, off defrauding Medicaid? Basically stealing from people who were sick. That's essentially what our Florida government has done. And that's historically, that's what they've done. And so to me, it doesn't really surprise me that small businesses are struggling, that workers are struggling. It doesn't surprise me that what's happened here in Florida is happening. The question is, are we going to let them do it again and again and again? Like, when is enough? When is enough before we throw these people out of office, we publicly shame them, and we hold them accountable for what they've done? Because we have to, especially now. I mean, it's just, we don't have a choice anymore. And so I'm really glad that you are running where you are running and against who you're running. Goodbye. Good riddance. Don't care. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we're excited. And, I'm really excited by so many candidates across the state of Florida that I've met, including you. We need more just regular, everyday people that knows what it's like to struggle. Yeah. I come from a family of working family who back in 2008, that's, right when the recession hit, my parents couldn't afford to send me to college. Yeah. So they took a second mortgage out on their house so that I could go to the University of Florida. And when the 2008 recession hit, and they were paying the second mortgage so I could be in college, my dad lost his job, and he was a construction worker, and he lost his job, and my family had to declare bankruptcy. And that was really tough. And then I realized, my parents are Republicans. I love them. They voted for Trump, but it's just really sad that people vote against their best interests. And so I think the Democrats, we need to reframe the debate, because we're losing that sometimes. It's to the point where we tell everybody what's the right thing, and we use our heart, but we don't go after the Republicans enough. We're like, oh, well, we can't really go after them. No, we got to go after them, because they've come after us. They've spread lies, and you know what? We're done with that. I'm gonna lay it out all on the table. I'm not scared to step up to my opponent. I'm not scared to step up to the NRA. Step up. We have to win this fight, because we are the party of compassion. We are the party that cares about people. We are the party that's going to fight for your health care, because that's a right that every single person deserves. It should not be tied to your job. And we've seen that with this pandemic. And so we are the party that is going to fight for you. And you need to find these candidates like me, like Adam and myself, and you need to fight with us, because that's the only way things are going to change. Our children are depending on us right now. They are depending on us to leave them a better future.
What I love right now is the amount of passion that you have, because every single person that I talk to, I feel that passion. I feel that anger, because after 2008, nobody helped us. Nobody came for us. Nobody put us first. And what happened? You had populist movements rise up, like Occupy Wall Street, like the Tea Party, in visceral reaction, because they were scared that they weren't going to be able to survive. And I know for a fact that's going to happen again. And the question is, do we let the same people that have done this over and over again keep doing it and stay in power? Or do we throw them out of office and stand up and say, look, what we need to do is start from the bottom up, not the top down. We do not give tax breaks to giant companies who make billions in profit. We do not give money to hedge funds in bailouts. We do not bail out speculators and gamblers and people in New Jersey and New York who don't know anything about us. And it's time that we actually have jobs and companies that are here in Florida, and not where they just take all of the money from our community and take it to an offshore bank account somewhere else. I am tired of that mentality, and I'm tired of other people getting what is ours. If we want to blame people for not being able to be okay, we have to blame the right people. And what Republicans have done, and what a lot of especially Florida Republicans have done, is place the blame on us or on our friends or our communities and say, well, you can't trust government. You just can't rely on it. When in reality,
but they are government.
They are government. They are the ones who have screwed
What do you mean? You've been in power for 25 years in Florida.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? You are the ones that have screwed up our healthcare system. You are the ones that have screwed up, and I'm not talking about Republican voters.
No,
because I
not.
have a ton
That's
of
my
Republican
entire family.
voters.
That's my entire family, and they are suffering as bad as anyone else.
That's half of my district. I love my Republican people.
Yeah.
The problem is the people in power in that party. And I'm not going to lie, it happens in our own party as well.
Yes.
We have Democrats. I love the Democratic Party. I do. We're trying to change it from the inside out. We have people on our own side that are also playing these games. So we need a new generation.
It doesn't matter who it is. It does not matter what party you're in. If you are the one who has screwed up things, I'm not going to overlook it. If you are somebody who is taking essentially bribe money and screwing normal people, I'm sorry. You don't get a pass just because you have a D next to your name. You don't get a pass just because you have an R next to your name. For so many people, I think that they see people that claim to be Republicans, and in their mind, they are not Republicans. They are extremists. They are not conservatives. Conservatives would not act the way that the people here in Florida have acted that are in power that call themselves Republicans. That is not conservative. That is extremist. And so for me, being able to point out the fact that, I grew up in one of the most conservative counties in the country in Indiana. I know what conservatism is. I know who is conservative. And these people, they are not Republican. They are not actual Republicans. They are not conservatives. They are not. And we need to point that out. We have to, like you said, take it to them, because they don't get a pass anymore. And they don't get to screw people anymore. It doesn't matter who it is, because they're screwing both Republicans and Democrats. They don't care. This is a class issue. It is not a political issue.
Yeah, we need people. Right now we need to bring people together. And I know politicians say that all the time. Oh, we're going to bring everyone together.
Yeah.
No, but we actually mean it. This campaign, I know my campaign here in Tampa, Florida, if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, if you're an MPA, if you vote every election, or if you've never voted in your life, we want you. We need you. We can really make change in this state and our community and in this country if we work together. So one of my disclaimers whenever we have a volunteer meeting is I say it right out front. I say, we have Republicans and we have Democrats and we have MPAs that are all here for one purpose, and it can make our community better. So there's not going to be bashing. We're not going to be bashing one party or the other.
Exactly.
Do you want to bash Jamie Grant? Go for it. Do you want to bash our governor? Sure. But we're not going to bash voters, because it's not the voters. You know, the voters need to be educated on some of these things. I mean, I hate to say that, but I think the government has lied to us for so long that it does get kind of confusing about who's going to do what for you and who's not. You know, they tell you they're going to do one thing, but we need the receipt. We need to follow up with these lawmakers, because they tell us one thing and that they come around every 2 years or 4 years and tell us all these great things they're going to do. And then we never follow up. We just kind of trust it's going to happen. Well, no more. We need to be lobbying. We need to be calling. We need to be emailing, all of it. So everyone's welcome. This is an inclusive campaign.
Yes, exactly. No, 100%. So, we're running out of time. Give everybody, what they need to know, where to go to like you on Facebook, follow you on Twitter, all that stuff.
Sure.
Give the spiel, and then I'm going to play some of your TikToks, which are great.
Oh, yeah.
Then we'll kind of end it right there. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and thank you, Jessica, for being on. And if there's anything that that we can do or point out or help you with, you just let me know, because it's not just about our campaign here. It's about getting people like you, like me, in office, because that's what matters, because it's not just one place that matters. If we all are able to at least pitch in, or at least put up even a freaking decent fight again in some of these districts and make it close, it takes away firepower from the other districts and makes it easier for them, because this is not about one place, it's about the entirety of Florida. And if we don't actually fix the state legislature as a whole, we don't stand a chance. If we don't fix the federal government as a whole, we don't stand a chance. And as we've seen with the pandemic, workers right now, middle-class people, people with small businesses, we don't stand a chance, especially with people who say that you can't trust the government when they are the government.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I think you're a great candidate, and I am going to definitely be watching your race as well. If anyone that lives in the Hillsborough County area would like to volunteer, we definitely need you. You can go to www.jessicaharrington.org. You can follow us. All of our social media is on our website as well. And I'm going to work really hard to earn your vote. We have 6 months until Election Day, November 3rd, and we need your vote. So thank you for watching.
So what's your thing on Twitter?
It's at JHFORFL.
Okay. And I'm sure you can probably write that in the comments section. And you can go follow her on Facebook. Her Act Blue page is also up. You've done pretty well at fundraising this time. I know you only raised about $4,000 last time, but I think you're 50, 60 something?
Almost 50,000. Yeah, we're about 1,500 away from hitting that 50,000 mark.
Congratulations. We're going to ramp up our side of things this next week, actually. So we're turning our firepower on that. So I really appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate what you're standing for and being able to provide the perspective that you are. So thanks, Jessica.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, we're twins. We're twins. Yes, sir. I am me. She is she. Except when I pretend I'm her. And when we switch, you can't tell which is which.
Now it's time for a breakdown.
Never gonna get it, 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 never